This is LMUWrestlers.com. I'm Scott Erland here with head men's basketball coach Josh Schertz. Catching up our little weekly report here, Coach. Might not really want to, but let's look back a little bit to last night. Hosted Ohio Midwestern here. Escaped with a 78-64 victory. Just talk about that a little bit.
Well, escape's the right word. There's two things that you have to do to play well in any game, and one is bring competitiveness, the other is execute. And we've prior to that, I thought haven't executed very well, even going back to the Queens game, Anderson game, and then I thought with Tennessee Wesleyan, we actually executed okay and didn't compete very well. And then, I thought obviously last night we didn't compete or execute. And when you don't do either thing, you open yourself up for, anything to happen. And certainly we were fortunate to escape with a win. It wasn't near what the final score looked like. It was maybe a 5 or 6 point game with about 5 minutes to go. We were out coached. Ricardo did a much better job with his team than I did with mine. We were outplayed, outworked, out-toughed. Just really across the board, and so it's kind of been building. You have to compete and you have to execute, and the team that does those two things the longest, over 40 minutes, generally wins unless the talent level is skewed. Last night we were significantly more talented than Ohio Midwestern, which allowed us to win, even though they certainly out-competed and out-executed us. But moving forward, with Coker and with Newberry coming down the pipe, and even going back to, like I said, Queens and Anderson, if those things don't improve, we competed well against Queens, we competed well against Anderson. We didn't execute very well. But I think, there's a tendency for, winning can make you delusional. It can make you, believe that things are different than what they really are. And I think with our group, maybe there's some of that delusion going on where guys think that we're, it's very dangerous of a false perception of who we are. And I think right now, maybe going to last night, we had a false perception of who we are, because I've been telling them here for the last 2 weeks that we're not very good and need to improve and a lot of areas to get better in. And hopefully, even though we won that last night, maybe it'll finally serve as a dose of truth, because they definitely need some.
And one of the early storylines for this team was the three-point shooting. We know that we were at an historic pace, on pace to shatter the single-season program record here for efficiency. Last night, I'm writing about this for our preview. What do you see last night? 4 for 23 from the three-point line. Was that an aberration, or do you see that as more of just coming back to the mean, coming back to the norm of just that hot start?
I think, law averages indicate you're not going to shoot. We were shooting as a team 49% from three. I think Lou was up around 60%. Law averages dictate that's not going to continue. That's not, be great if it did, but that's probably not who we are. I think we're a lot better than 4 for 23. But, you have to take what the defense gives you. And last night, the way Midwestern played us, they basically sagged off and dared us to shoot it. And we shot it just to make them. But for the most part, they were good threes. They were wide open. I didn't have an issue with the three-point shot selection. You're going to have nights where you don't make shots. That's a part of basketball. There's nights where the ball doesn't go in the hole, and you're going to shoot 4 for 23, and that's, the NBA, college, whatever. The thing you have to do is understand, what goes into winning, and it's all the things outside of that 5% of the time you get the ball in your hands. And that's really where we struggle is we don't necessarily buy into doing all the things that go into winning. And when you give up, I would say conservatively, 20 points off scouting report breakdowns where we don't guard the pick and roll correctly, or tag the roller with the right guy, or transition defense, or just basic things that we break down. And last night I was being conservative with 20 points on that. That's where you run into trouble. I don't have an issue with the 4 for 23. Nobody's missing shots on purpose. Guys are shooting it. I have an issue that I thought, Luquan, missed a couple, then he lost confidence and he stopped following through and he stopped shooting the ball with confidence. He's a great shooter. You're going to miss sometimes. You got to maintain your confidence. The same thing happened to Jarrell in the game as well. But my biggest issue with Lou was that he allowed his shooting to affect his game. He had no rebounds and 1 assist in 17 minutes. You have to impact the game, and shooting is 5%. The other 95% is what goes into winning, Lou didn't do a good job of that last night, and really not a guy you could say that did a very good job of it. Coming out, I think Lorenzo was the last maybe 12 minutes of the game was really aggressive offensively, but I thought the first 28, and I told him this at halftime and after the game, he was horrible on both ends of the floor. He was horrible defensively, he was horrible offensively for the first 28 minutes. So it's across the board. It's issues we got to handle if we're going to have a chance to become a good team. We're not a very good team right now. Record would say otherwise, but there's been some extenuating circumstances fall in our favor. To have the record we have, and certainly last night was not a shock to me. I was shocked at how poor our competitiveness was, but our lack of execution, our lack of attention to detail, I see it every day in practice.
And then another storyline we've seen is just you've talked about it, is we knew that the forward position was going to kind of be a committee thing, and then early in the season, the first 5 games, only 2 times did anybody from that group cross into double figures. Well, the last 2 games we've had it happen twice already. Keenan Peterson goes for 22 points, perfect from the field against Tennessee Wesleyan. Last night, Curtis McMillian comes off the bench and gives you 16 points and 8 rebounds. Do you see that group might have turned a little bit of a corner?
It's hard to tell because of this. We've had a physical mismatch inside. I have to see it against more like competition relative to size and strength. We've played 2 teams that are not Division II teams. So I think it's been better. Our bigs have done a really poorish job until maybe the last 2 games of trying to score before they catch, create angles, and do those things. I think the last 2 games you've seen a small light go on where guys are starting to work and seal and create angles and understand that really in the post 90% of your work is done before you catch the ball, and then you're just catching it to finish a play. So hopefully a glimmer of light there. We still have to do a better job post feeding. We missed the post innumerable times last night against the zone. We had a massive advantage inside, from a physical standpoint and a height standpoint. So I still think we can take better advantage of that, but that falls both ways. The bigs got to do a better job of scoring before they catch, demanding the basketball, and guards got to do a better job of hitting the bigs when they're open and post feeding and getting the ball in there when the big has the guy sealed. And so it's a work in progress, but probably if you're grasping at positives, that would probably be one thing that would fall on the positive ledger is we've done a little bit better job there.
Okay, now let's turn our attention. Let's look forward. Now we got Coker coming into Tex Turner Arena this weekend. A tough test. They've gone to Carson Newman and beat Carson Newman. They hosted Queens, knocked off the big physical Royal team. Led by a couple seniors, Eric Bethel, 20 points per game. Then Larry Felder, 12.8 points per game, 6 rebounds. What do you see with that squad coming in?
Well, I mean, and like you said, they're 2-1 in the league, and their loss was a 2-point loss to Newberry in a game they led, I think, inside the final 2 minutes. So they're a play away from being 3-0. What I see is a team that's very physical, that's very aggressive, that's very tough. Coach Schmatzer, I think, probably because he has such a big personality and he's so animated, and I think it's easy to lose sight that he's a great coach, and that his teams embody what we all want our teams to embody. That they're an aggressive, physical, tough team. They don't beat themselves. They do a great job of switching. They make you score over them. They're just very hard-nosed, and they're going to come in here and then they're going to get into us defensively, and offensively they're going to put their shoulders down and drive the ball, and they're going to see if we can stay between our man and the basket, and they're going to come at us for 40 minutes, and we're going to have to be at a whole different level from a competitiveness standpoint and an execution standpoint to have a chance. I think they're if we're at our best, it's a great game. If we're not at our best, it can get away from us quickly because they're good enough not only to come in here and win, but to certainly blow us out if we're at anything less than our best from competitiveness and execution standpoint. So they're really good. We're going to have to play extremely well to be in there and have a chance at the end to hopefully pull one out potentially. But it's going to take us playing very well.
All right, Coach. Well, we look forward to seeing how the games play out this weekend, and we'll catch up with you next week.
Sounds great, Scott. Look forward to it.